The Legend of Hero games, the Trail series, is a very special game to me. For all of you who are new, the Trail series is an RPG made by Neon Falcon, and they're spanning about 10 games now. Yeah, there's about 10 of them, and they're all connected. Imagine, the first 3 games take place in a fictional place called Liberl. The next 4 games take place, no, the next 2 games take place in Crossbell, which is like right off to the side of the state, and the remaining 4 take place in a place called Erebonia. And all these games are connected, and characters cross over and they meet. And I decided to make a tier list because I just beat Trails into Reverie a couple of days ago, and I was like, wow, I have way too much knowledge about these games. So let's talk about it. I decided to make a tier list and talk about all the games and how they fare. All right, cool. So as you can see here, I got a tier list. I got from S all the way to F. Hopefully none of them land in F, but we never know. The first 3 games, like I mentioned, are, the Trails in the Sky series. And then we got the Crossbell arcs, which both of them take in 2D. And after that, they transition into 3D in the Trails of Cold Steel games. And from there on, they're all 3D. But all the way up to Reverie. And I think the new one that came out this year was Trails from Daybreak, which I'm like halfway through. But I rank it anyway, because why not? All right, so the first one is Trails in the Sky. And it was the first time I played it. I love the 2D art sprites, and I think I would have to put it as a B. Yeah, it's a little slow paced at the beginning, and for someone getting into the series, it might be too much. But it was fun. I loved going with Joshua and Estelle, going through all of Liberl, and it was just an amazing time going through all of it. Things I didn't like were party members switching out. Like, you mostly have Estelle and Joshua, the 2 protagonists throughout the whole game. And, defeating 8 people, 8 monsters with a party of 2 could be difficult, but whatever. The point is, you get party members that come in, but they're not permanent. So you can't really upgrade their equipment, or by the time you do, they leave. So they stay in per chapter. So that was my only downfall. No permanent party members, too many switching in and out. But overall, the game was a solid B. Great game. Now, Trail's second chapter, that ending of the first one. Oh boy, minor spoilers. So at the end of the first one, Joshua turns out to be a sleeper agent working for Ouroboros. And if you don't know what any of that means, I can make a video describing everything. But basically, he runs away when he realizes he betrayed his friends. And the second game takes place with Estelle trying to find them and fighting the other people of Ouroboros and trying to stop the evil schemes. And I gotta say, this one holds a special place in my heart. This one is definitely top tier. This one's an S. It's one of my favorites. I think it's a lot of people's favorites, but it's so good. Everything about it is just amazing. Going through all the arcs, going through the chapters. You have permanent party members, and you choose which one you want to take. So this one was a great step up from the first one. And I have no complaints about this one. This one was just peak fiction. So then the third one would be Trails the Third. And this one was more like a dungeon crawler / things called the doors, where you can see people's backstories, which was interesting, but it wasn't like the first 2 here. As good as the first one, enough interesting story to keep me going. And I wasn't too fond of the dungeon crawling aspect. It felt too repetitive. But the doors were interesting, especially the one with, the door I'm talking about. Yeah, poor, sad. But this one was more of a dungeon crawler with some minor stories, wrapping up the first 2 games and everything that it had. Wasn't too crazy about it. I see it on par as the first one. Now we move over to Crossbell, which we're still in 2D, but it's a whole new cast of characters. We got some returning characters from the first one, but it's basically a whole new cast. And it's about a police officer named Lloyd, and he joins, the new task force. And basically it's in a city called Crossbell. And honestly, I liked it a lot. I definitely got to put it on the A tier. It's not S tier, but it was really good. I loved all the new characters. I loved the returning characters. And I loved all the story it wrapped up. It wrapped up the story of Rene, So that one was really good. Had a special place. That was amazing. I liked it. And then this follow-up, Trails from Azure. There you go. That's the follow-up. And honestly, that one was so good. I think I'm gonna put that one in S tier. Yeah, that one's definitely S tier. It is so good. It wraps up the remaining story of Crossbell up to a point, because as you can tell, all the way up to Reverie, Crossbell is not really finished. But it's just, the story of Lloyd and everyone else fighting for Crossbell was just so good. I had to give this one S tier for sure. Alright, so now we get into the hot takes. The Trails of Cold Steel series. I did not have as much fun with this one as I did with the first 4. I don't know why. I don't know if it was the change to 3D, the way they handled things. Things started getting repetitive for me. And I don't know, when you include fast travel and exactly where to go, it feels like I'm just going from destination to destination I realized I wasn't talking to NPCs because it told me exactly where to go. I feel like the move to 3D really hurt a lot of the charm that the first 3-4 games had. The first 5 games had, technically. And, it fixed a lot of, it gave you exactly where to go. It showed you which NPC to talk to. And it showed fast travel. And while it's convenient, I feel like it kind of lost a lot of its charm. I was no longer trying to see what every NPC had to say. And I was kind of just following from point to point. And I didn't have as much fun as I did with the first, I think I would definitely put that one as a D tier. I know. It's the introduction to the characters, the class, 7, amazing cast, but just not my favorite. Not by far. Reen's character was pretty boring in this one until the last chapter of the game where, he shows he's an awakener. But other than that, great ending, but I feel like there was a lot of filler throughout the whole thing, basically. So now Trails of Cold Steel 2 is basically the war starting, and that one is on par with, it's a B tier. It's pretty good. It's not bad, and it's not amazing either. It was just, wrapping up the loose ends with the war, and, Reen using the robot, so I thought that was pretty cool. And then, it was alright, I'm not too crazy about the Trails of Cold Steel games. Now, part 3. Part 3 was very fan servicey. I feel like it wanted to do fan service over plot, or these characters really wouldn't say these things, but I feel like it gave them anyway. And that's why I kind of have to put that one. I think it's a C. Yeah, it's not great. And there's a lot of fan service stuff I didn't like, but yeah, it was alright. It was starting a new arc with the robots, and I thought that was cool. Now, part 4 is dope. Everything combined, you have all the characters. It doesn't feel as, as fan servicey. So I would definitely put that as a B tier. And just, oh boy, definitely B tier. I started falling in love with the characters again. I loved all the returning characters. I love seeing what Lloyd was up to. Joshua and Estelle have some stuff to do, not too much, but overall, it's Reen's story. And I wasn't fond of the ending where you get the bad ending automatically. But I think this is a hot take. I wasn't originally fond of this ending because, you get the bad ending first where Reen takes all the power of all the Awakeners, and then he goes to space and basically blows himself up, absorbing himself to be the bad guy. And it ends there as the bad ending. And basically you have to reload your save and do 3 hours worth of content that you should have done originally, but I didn't. So I guess not everyone does, or maybe just me. And that's how you get the good ending, where, they transfer out the Awakener ability and everything else. And, everything's wrapped up with a bow. Everyone comes back to life. My biggest thing with this one is feels like the stakes aren't real. Characters you think die, but oh no, miraculously they're alive. I put myself in a bubble, so I survived an explosion. Characters that did show up as dead somehow come back, and it's just too fan servicey to the point where, there are no character deaths. It makes you really hate Rufus and all the other characters who are going against them. So overall, B tier, it's alright. And now Trails into Reverie, which is one of the ones I recently completed, so maybe it's fresh in the mind. But oh man, that one was amazing. It wrapped up everything in a nicely neat bow, and I think I gotta put that one in S tier for sure. No, for sure. So that one, basically 3 storylines. It was Reen's, Lloyd's, and the new person called C. And I guess if you paid attention, you can figure out who C is. Spoilers. It took me completely by surprise. It being Rufus. And honestly, his story was my favorite in this one. Great redemption arc. Him taking back Crossbell. I had no issues with it. Lloyd having his Crossbell finally be free. And Reen was kind of there helping out. But the thing I really liked about Reen's story was the Awakener. And remember how I said in part 3 I wasn't fond of the ending? Part 4, I wasn't fond of the ending where he blows up. Yeah, there's an AI. AI is in everything now, isn't it? Whatever. There's this big AI thing that somehow found an alternative version of Reen, which is the bad ending, and took him. And it was the real Reen, so he basically has to fight his self from another version, alternative universe. Very complicated, but I found that super fascinating and kind of heartbreaking because that Reen basically lost everything. He lost his friends, he lost his will, and it was crazy. And I thought it was very nicely done. Rufus's story, great ending. He stays with the 2 people, Swim and Nadia, and they get a doll that she becomes alive. That one's cool too. Great story. I wrapped up everything nice, and it brought back things from Trails the Third, which was when it introduced the doors and the Reverie corridor, and that was really nice and cool. And it's nice seeing backstories to things that technically don't have time for in the main story. So it's like a side plot. So very good. I can see myself returning to this game multiple times to see all the doors and everything else. Now, I'm about halfway through Trails from Daybreak, but I think I can give it a score. I would definitely put Trails from Daybreak. I like the combat. I just feel like the action feels too repetitive sometimes. I see myself mostly just beating the crap out of them without going into turn-based because there's so many enemies and it's a little overwhelming. But I still have a lot of fun. There's too much investigating that's starting to annoy me, where like the first half of the chapter, you're not doing any battles. You're just going from point A to point B. And I find myself not talking to any other NPCs. I only talk to the ones it tells me to. But overall, I'm enjoying my time with it. I can definitely put that. I'll put that in the A tier. My thoughts may change when I beat it, but for now, A tier. That's pretty good. But yeah, the worst of the worst was definitely Trails of Cold Steel 1 for me. And the best ones are definitely, Trails in the Sky 2nd chapter, Trails from Azure, and Trails into Reverie. Oh, that one was amazing. But guys, what do you think? Do I have any hot takes? Do you agree with it? Let me know in the comment section, and let me know if you would like more videos about Trails. I have way too much knowledge about this games, and I feel like I don't know if anyone else feels the way I do, because none of my friends know about these series. I tried talking to multiple of my friends, trying to get them into it. It's a big ask, because we're talking about each game. It takes about 40, 50 hours to complete. I spent a year just playing catch up on all these games. And it's amazing games, but let me know, guys. You guys agree with this? All right, cool.